Series 11 of Doctor Who was an interesting one. While production value went up tenfold, in my opinion, the writing took a pretty steep nosedive. It wasn't all bad though. Rosa and Demons of the Punjab were exceptional episodes, contrasted by that of the Saranga Conundrum and the pretty bleak conclusion to the series with the Battle of Ranskor Av Kolos. It's safe to say that Series 11 left a bad taste in a couple of people's mouths. I personally really enjoyed the bits that weren't a raging tire fire, but when I did get the chance to step back and look at the whole series when it was finished, I had a moment to reflect, and it wasn't exactly all stellar. Since we've got a good year until Series 12, there is a lot of time for Chibnall and his team of writers to get thinking of how they can improve the series overall. What? It's in production. Bollocks. Well, we can speculate though, surely? Well, this is more of a wish list now, but there's definitely things we hope Chibnall and the Series 12 team will keep in mind. I'm Rich, your go-to for Doctor Who from WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 simple fixes Doctor Who must make for Series 12. Number 8. Tone down the exposition. Probably the biggest criticism of Series 11 was the fact there was so much time spent gawping at the Doctor as she rumbled on about X, Y, and Z, be it a history lesson, some science gobbledygook, or recounting fairy tales of her childhood. It was all pretty unnecessary. As much as Doctor Who was originally envisioned as a educational program, with the science fiction element being nothing more than the enabler for time travel and subsequent educationing, Series 11 took this a little too much to heart, but it felt less educational and more of a means of padding the episode to reach that 50-minute runtime. I said during the ups and downs of Series 11 that the Doctor was always good at doing and talking, but throughout Doctor 13's first series, we saw more talking than doing. The physicality, the kineticism of Doctor Who fell almost flat on its arse during the series, and every time you realised a Doctor monologue was coming, not a good one like the ones Capaldi used to do, it was infuriating. Basically, Chris, less of this. I need that on a shirt. Basically, Chris, less of this. Number 7. Use the Sonic more sparingly. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Stop relying on the Sonic. The Sonic plot device, the ultimate multi-tool from opening doors to literally anything you ask of it. Not only did the constant exposition slow down the physical momentum of Series 11, the Sonic kind of did so too. Remember back in the day when the Doctor would poke, sniff, prod, and even lick things to establish what they are or where they've come from. Now it's just scan and look at a screen that's not even there. Far too often did Doctor 13 rely on the Sonic. It was something Matt Smith's 11th Doctor also suffered with, but somehow it wasn't as annoying then as it is now. Getting out of scrapes by pointing an LED at a threat until sparks fly off of it, or until a trapdoor opens beneath our protagonists and they fall into a warmly lit room full of pillows and chicken nuggets, is lazy writing by anyone's standards. So bring back that physicality we had with the Doctor before, and step 1 is to stop pausing for a lecture, and step 2 is using the Sonic to open a door, and nothing more. That's another t-shirt. Plus, it makes the Doctor feel more interesting. More on that later. Number 6. Fire the unfired guns. If there's one thing Chibnall seemed to like to do in Series 11, it was introduce a potential plot thread, be it deliberate or not, and then just forget about it 5 minutes later. Sure, these things don't leave glaring holes in the plot or anything, but they sure are annoying when the sting comes in, the credits begin to roll, and you think, but wait, what about that thing that happened then? One of the first, if not the biggest, of these guns we come across is Yaz being a police officer. It's referenced later on about how she's treated as a young female officer, but in those moments when you'd think Officer Yaz would kick in and stamp on shit, nothing happens. Think of President Prick being a prick in Arachnids in the UK, and when Dalek Lynn was on the loose. Why didn't Yaz inform the authorities about anything, or even establish herself as a figure of authority? What about the water you couldn't touch in the Ghost Monument? Was that a pointless detail for the sake of a pointless detail? Or even the Doctor clutching her chest and her legs buckling and crashing to the ground numerous times in the Saranga Conundrum? What was it for? Why did they make such a big deal of it for it not to be relevant at all? I expected these moments of the Doctor crashing down and being nigh on useless to come at a really crucial life or death situation in that episode to add to the tension that Saranga Conundrum sorely needed. But no, most of these things felt like just a little bit of world building more than anything, especially the killer water. But if it's not going to be relevant in any capacity, just don't mention it. Either that or actually use those tidbits of information. Put Yaz in a morally contentious situation, her heart versus her duties. She's a police officer, for goodness sake. I was expecting that to play into the character's motivations, but yeah. Number 5, bring back period costume. Now this one's not as glaring, it's not making a black hole and sucking the entire hooniverse in, but think about it. When did you last see the Doctor and co in period costume? Not just 13, but even before that. Series 10's Thin Ice had the Doctor and Bill decked out in 19th century garb, but there were numerous instances in New Who when historical dress would have been a given, but it wasn't there. One of the best bits of Who is seeing companions awkwardly dress up in period attire, and there were points in Series 11 where this could have been done, but no. Series 1 of New Who points out that going out dressed in modern clothing in the past might draw too much unwanted attention. Best episode of all time, Remembrance of the Daleks, sees the Doctor tell Ace off for having a boombox on her shoulder in 1963. Looking out of place was a known quantity throughout all of Who, and it's still been ignored to this day as and when they wanted to. I would love to see Graham, Yaz, and especially Ryan awkwardly wander about wherever with period dress on. It could have happened so many times in this series. Rosa, Demons of the Punjab, the Witchfinders could have all seen Team TARDIS wearing correct clothing. Even better, have the team wear relevant future clothing when travelling forward in time. That's not something we see very often. Number 4. Acknowledge the wider Hooniverse. Something Chibnall did with Series 11, be it rightly or wrongly, was have it almost completely standalone. The Doctor's origin and species didn't change, nor did the fundamental nature of the TARDIS, nor did the base formula of the show. This wasn't Peter Cushing's Doctor Who movies, though they're definitely worth watching. It was a great means of getting new people into the show, and it's not a bad place to start. Though I do recommend starting at Series 1. Don't skip 9. One thing we did know was that the series was going to feature all new monsters, no throwbacks to old enemies until this year's resolution. That time of pure originality has been and gone, and now there is no excuse to ignore the past. Bring back old monsters, or variations of the old monsters. We had the clockwork droids from The Girl in the Fireplace return in some form in Deep Breath. The Absorbaloff, as loved or hated as you'd like, was a relative of sorts to the Raxacoricophalopatorians, or Slitheen, and even the aforementioned Resolution did the Daleks again, but sort of in their own way. It's not only monsters though. Gallifrey is still out there. We didn't get closure on the Master, and surely they'll be back at some point. There's the Rani, the Valyard, Rassilon, the General, a plethora of Time Lords to bring back. Maybe there could be another echo of the Time War yet to catch up with the Doctor. The fact is, this universe is huge and is always screaming, and yet our adventures so far with Doctor 13 have been very much fingers in ears and making lots of la 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 noises. However, don't bring back the Weeping Angels, for goodness sake. They need to stay in the ground. Number 3. Establish a better 3-companion dynamic. Both one of the strongest and one of the weakest aspects of Series 11 were the companions. No one really expected Bradley Walsh's Graham to be as good as he was. I could gush on about him, but I did that enough during Ups and Downs, so go and watch that. Ryan would just point out the obvious because Chibnall flicked through his script and thought, crap, I need to give Ryan a line, and just penciled in something relatively relevant to whatever the hell was going on. But he did have his weighty, really quite brilliant moments. Yaz, as already mentioned, with her Palisi stuff or lack thereof, was a bit useless. She was normally the one sat on the front row for one of the Doctor's lectures, gawping away and inputting what little of GCSE physics she could remember. No one felt wholly relevant or important. This is one of the biggest faults with Series 11. Chibnall bit off way more than he could chew with his companions. Having 3 on board the TARDIS for a significant time is quite a stretch, without leaving a few rather glaring holes in their development, and that's exactly what happened, if you could call it development. Ryan and Graham's presence made sense. Their story began in The Woman Who Fell to Earth. After Grace died and Ryan didn't see him as much of a father, let alone grandfather figure, Graham really did try to be there for him through it all, since he was basically his only family. This arc did conclude in a granddad moment we could see coming from a mile off, though I think it could have been done better. Ups and Downs where it takes you away will explain why. As for Yaz, she's the weak link here. Even though it took 9 out of 10 episodes to get to that granddad moment, not all 9 of those episodes were focused on just Graham and Ryan. In fact, their development opposite each other was very much done in fits and starts. Yaz's time to shine was in Demons of the Punjab, and though it was the best episode of the series in my opinion, it didn't really have much to do with Yaz herself and more her grandmother. Finding a way to keep all 3 companions in perfect balance in terms of relevance or screen time is quite a tough feat, obviously because Chibnall didn't manage it in Series 11. I have a solution though, and it's a tough cookie to bite into. Number 2, lose one companion. Though there is a lot to love and a lot that could be loved about this trio, unless Chibnall is indeed a wizard, I'm intrigued as to how we could keep all 3 on board without falling into the same sporadic irrelevance trap Graham, Yaz and Ryan find themselves in numerous times during Series 11. The solution though? Bring the head count down from 3 to 2. That's what we usually see in Who, 1 or 2 companions. I mean, sure, there might be a third in the shape of Captain Jack Harkness, Please Come Back, or River Song, but that's only for a short while. 3 companions is a push, and the easiest way to get things back on track is to bin one. But who? And how? Well, if you look at Series 11 as a whole, the least developed, most useless companion is unfortunately Yaz. Mandip Gill is great, don't get me wrong, but Yaz is just an uninteresting character. She's the mirror to the pretty much always beaming Doctor, but that's kind of it. As I've said, her police officer life has had very little impact on her TARDIS travels, and she doesn't do much other than hump the Doctor's leg whenever she spits a soliloquy. Ryan and Graham still definitely have some things to iron out between them, though I doubt they'll be fist-bumping each other every time they pass yet, nor do I think we've seen the last of Grace. But where does Yaz fit into this? Short answer, she doesn't. Ryan and Yaz were at primary school together, and that's kind of it. She's just there for the sake of being there. It would be a real shame to lose quite a positive, glowing character, but for the sake of keeping the show balanced and concise, someone's got to go. And number 1, establish the Doctor's character. Outside of those incredible monologues, I feel sorry for Peter Capaldi. Thanks to the single beat endings of Series 7, I feel sorry for Matt Smith. We've had some incredible Doctors, but there are elements of the writing that has let them down in some way, shape or form. Jodie Whittaker has had it the worst, in my opinion. She doesn't know who she's playing. The Doctor post-regeneration is always this befuddled, all-over-the-place individual trying to work out which way is up, which way is down, and what colour their hair is. But usually by the end of the first 1 or 2 episodes, we know what kind of a man the Doctor is. 9 was bubbly, but was as dark as the blackest night when the echoes of the Time War came to haunt him. 10 was this eccentric, dashing young man who could let the fires of his anger burn if he really needed them to. 11 was goofy and clever and kind of silly, but would never let anyone or anything harm the people he cared about. 12 didn't hesitate. Armed with attack eyebrows and a burning passion of doing what's right, irrelevant of collateral, he didn't want to get in his way. Though underneath it all was a compassionate man. 13, we still don't know yet. Morally, 13 is all over the shop. There is of course the standard desire the Doctor has to solve any problem without resorting to killing, but that's never always been present. In the past it's because the Doctor's given prior warning only to be ignored, or it's because an antagonist has done something so despicable, not even the Doctor can justify them having a second chance. 13 knowingly DNA bombed Tim Shaw with the intent to kill, suffocated a ton of spiders who were helpless even though I'd have still been at them with a flamethrower, and yet gets overly defensive of the biggest spider when President Prick points a pistol at it. We're never sure whether Doctor 13 is coming or going, diving in all guns blazing or waiting at the sidelines trying to reason with a threat. So far we've had the eccentricity of Matt Smith paired with the fire of Tennant, and that's about it. Not even the Doctor knows who the Doctor is, and that's not good. Jodie Whittaker is a fantastic actress, and I'm really hoping her Doctor becomes the Doctor. Right now, in Capaldi's words, we're not sure as to whether she's a good man. When the wider hooniverse is hopefully let in and the echoes of the Time War hopefully come about again, maybe her purpose will all become clear. Is she going to resave Gallifrey? The events of Hellbent set on the Doctor's homeworld were put to the wayside when chasing Clara's heartbeat, so surely there's more to be done. Fix the mess the Time War made of the people, bring it back into the universe, the Doctor's race alive again. Maybe we'll have a proper series arc, or at least have the stakes truly high to push 13 to her limit. Right now we just have a Doctor. Chibbers is playing up to conventions of Doctors past, so there's nothing that really sets her apart, bar the fact she's female. But that isn't really a defining trait that makes her Doctor hers. There are so many directions Chibnall and Whittaker could go in, but right now it looks like he's playing it safe. Well, less safe and more stupid. And that's my list. What things would you recommend to fix Series 12? And upon taking a bit of time away from it, has your opinion changed on Series 11? Either way, let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe to What Culture here on YouTube if you haven't already, and you can follow me on Twitter at PickupChangeToe. I've been Rich, thank you again for watching, continue being brilliant, and I'll see you soon. Bye.